If you've ever used a nebulizer for yourself or for your child and you've experienced some bumps in the road, today we're going to help you with that by troubleshooting the Drive JetNeb Nebulizer. One of the most common concerns that we see for somebody using a nebulizer is that the compressor won't actually turn on. So to troubleshoot that, the first thing you're going to do is actually fully disconnect the tubing, and we're just going to put this to the side. When we are looking at the nebulizer itself, we want to make sure that the compressor and the outlet are all working appropriately. So first you're going to start by making sure it's not the outlet issue to start. So if your outlet is controlled by a light switch, making sure that that light switch is on, and then also making sure that the outlet itself is working. So I would recommend taking it out of this one and trying a new outlet. If you're using the neb with a child, or if you need to stop for anything in the middle of a treatment and you're turning this power button off, just note that sometimes it takes a few minutes for it to be ready to turn back on. So if you're turning it off and on and you're noticing it's not turning on right away after that, that's usually the most common cause, to just give the motor a second and then try again a little bit after. The Drive nebulizer has what's called a built-in thermal overload protector, and what this means is that sometimes the motor will turn off on its own or stop because it is protecting it from overheating. So if you notice that the motor stops on its own, you're just going to turn it into the off position and then wait 30 minutes for it to cool down, and then you can try again. When we talk about the actual cup and tubing in a moment, one of the things we're also going to talk about is if it's not creating mist. And so the first way to figure out if it's creating mist or not, and if it's an issue with the cup and tubing, is by actually putting your finger right over where the tubing goes to make sure you can feel air pushing out. The last thing to consider when it comes to the motor of your nebulizer is the filter that's on the bottom. So it's recommended to check the filter periodically, again, depending on how often you're using the nebulizer. If you're using it really frequently, like daily, you're going to check that filter sooner than somebody that's just using it every now and then. But you're looking to make sure the filter is still clean. So the filter is going to be on the bottom, and it's this little gray circle here. And inside that little gray circle is the actual filter itself, which is just a little white piece. And when you're looking at that little white piece, you want to make sure it's not gray and it is still white. So here you can see the difference between the two filters. One that's dirty that maybe has some dust on it, it can look gray or yellow compared to the clean filter. The manufacturer does give you extra filters, and so you have those available to replace them when needed. If you're going to use the nebulizer and it's turning on but it's not creating a mist, there are a few other things to check. First, before we check these things, we want to disconnect our tubing. We're going to make sure there are no visible cracks and that everything is set up correctly. So you'll check all of your pieces just to make sure nothing's cracked or broken or warped in any way. You also want to make sure that your mouthpiece, that filter or opening here, is facing up. And you want to make sure that this piece in here, the baffle, is in place. If it's not in place, it will not create mist. Then you're going to check inside the actual cup here to make sure there's no residue or anything from a previous use and that it is clean. Then you want to check and make sure there's actual medication in there. So you want to make sure you put that right in before each use. It's also really important to note the difference between your reusable and your disposable cup and tubing. So the reusable cup and tubing can be replaced around every 6 months, but the disposable cup and tubing should only be used for about a month, and it does need to be thrown away after. So same thing for troubleshooting that within that first about 30 days of use, making sure there's no cracks or residue or anything in there and that you have the medication and the baffle and everything set up correctly. But after that first month of use, it does need to be thrown away. So now we're just going to put the medication in the cup. We're going to make sure we open it and take everything off the top. Again, including that baffle inside. Make sure all of the medication is put in. And if you do need any measurements, they are on the side as well. Make sure everything is lined up and clipped on all the way before use. And then your button to turn the motor on is right on the side. And you should see the mist coming out. If you don't see mist, it might be time to replace your cup and tubing around that 6-month mark. If you ever notice that there's moisture collecting in the tubing, you're going to want to make sure you fully disconnect everything, and when you wash the cup and related pieces up here, making sure that that's all dry. We're not going to be cleaning the tubing, but if you do see moisture in there, you want to make sure it is fully dried before you use it again. If you do get moisture in the tubing, it's most likely just from moisture in the air itself. It's not going to be the medication getting in there. So please don't worry if you see that. Just make sure that the tubing does fully dry, and then you can try the next treatment. If you've gone through all of these troubleshooting steps and you feel like there's still something wrong or it's not working for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And note that your compressor itself does have a 5-year warranty. And again, the cup and tubing need to be replaced every 6 months. So if you do need a new replacement for your cup and tubing, make sure to get a prescription from your provider, and you can reach out to us at Acelleron.com/nebulizer. If you're looking for any more education or support around the use of your nebulizer, feel free to go to our YouTube channel where we have a nebulizer playlist that you can look through.